flexible. Marjorie ain't that flexible. Marjorie don't dance.
Genuine adaptable Marjorie ain't that adaptable Marjorie. Don't move, he kept her around Marjorie. Never knew, gracious God, those expectations in our current reality, where Hollywood's spectacular veneer frequently conceals shameful mysteries. Steve Harvey, with his steadily enchanting smile, ends up at the focal point of one such tempest. Marjorie Harvey has purportedly dropped a sensation on him, and the consequential convulsions are resounding all through Hollywood. What's the dangerous charge you request? We've gotten breeze from bits of gossip indicating Steve Harvey's mysterious 8-year-old little girl dwelling in Dallas, Texas, a little girl purportedly birthed during the consecrated timetable of his union. With Marjorie, this disclosure has left Hollywood aghast, testing the legitimacy of Steve's public picture and pushing his exclusive issues under a glaring spotlight. To me and Margie, we got together at a point in our life where we had both fizzled at this pitiably. And it simply wasn't disappointment, wasn't a choice. In spite of falling on from this disrupting disclosure, we dig further into the turbulent waves Harvey is at present, exploring the division of Steve Harvey, the acclaimed television persona everybody adore. And the man rising up out of these stories is surprising. It murmurs of conceivable fatherly surrender and a hid life concealed in the midst of the charming fabulousness of his stardom. Yet the interest encompassing the alleged little girl is only one section in this unfurling. Show a new disclosure looms, discusses a surreptitious sweetheart from Augusta, Georgia, ready to add more wind to this generally complicated story. Her disclosures may very well give a more clear view into Steve Harvey's tangled trap of connections, and asserted Diane's following back, even preceding Marjorie's entry into his life. Currently, how about we dig into the murmurs regarding Steve's talk stowed away kid in the midst of the vortex of prattle claims have emerged proposing Steve Harvey fathered a girl during his 16-year conjugal excursion with Marjorie, a consequence of a supposed partnership in Dallas, Texas. The buzz of Harvey conceivably disregarding this kid escalates the embarrassment. No, this was accomplishing more than in the confounding universe of Hollywood, where each look and signal has investigated. Steve Harvey currently remains at the eye of a seething tempest. The murmur has supposed sentiment with a confidential culinary specialist indicated being exactly the same lady who may be the mother of his reputed secret kid from Dallas. See that she's been on his show, Dr. Bosher. She's a confidential cook, stripping back the layers. Tasha K mixed the pot, conveying a stunner by means of her web recording. She daringly guaranteed that Steve's covert coalitions weren't with any arbitrary indulgence. Yet with a lady acquainted with his internal circle as a culinary expert, she's been around beginning around 2005. To the mama coming to an obvious conclusion. Further, Tasha insinuates that this equivalent lady could hold the title of moms to Steve's implied 8-year-old girl in Dallas. A kid considered during the timetable of his union with Marjorie was one of the ones that Steve Harvey was supposedly cheating with. While he was with Mary, the reverberation of this disclosure reverberates further while considering Tasha's extra cases. Did Steve really wanting to leave the boat of his marriage with Marjorie to head out with this culinary specialist turned affirmed escort? There's forever been a flash among Steve and the cook, regardless of whether it's expert. Another insider uncovered, yet this it's all guess, until Steve stands up in spite of Tasha K's hot allegations. It's vital to think of her as History, the scandalous podcaster, confronted legitimate music with hip jump craftsman Cardi B, where she admitted to winding around stories out of nowhere. Yet Hollywood flourishes with show, doesn't it? And with Steve and the said gourmet specialist moving on Twitter, the computerized grape plant is on fire, so kindly don't take it individual. Dr. Brasher. And recollect this is asserted, 'cause I wasn't there in the room or in the kitchen with you and Steve. I'm giving an account of what sources brought to me. Media takeout after a profound plunge arose with no substantial proof to support Tasha's story. Monster settled CL in Harvey's internal circle fervently deny any heartfelt entrapment They share an energy for food. Nothing more trusted a singular, near the gourmet expert. She's being hauled into a spotlight. She never saw this ebb and flow maelstrom mirrors the commencement of Steve and Marjorie's liaison, which sprouted in the midst of quieted discussions. Isn't it unexpected the beginning of their romantic tale was damaged by Tato? And here we are round trip. Yet the significant inquiry remains, is Tasha Carr wording one more flood of deceptions? Or has she uncovered reality that will reclassify Steve Harvey's heritage? One could say it lays bare a polarity Steve the magnetic relationship master on one hand, and on the other a man trapped in a progression of supposed issues, whose validness is progressively raised out about Mary Harvey, Steve's ex, has never been one to avoid the media. Glare her comments take us back to the wild past that Steve and Marjorie share. Yet it's been like that beginning around 2005, so for this reason, is it in light of the fact that we have a man of force and authority, and he involved that in the court, she remarked revealing insight into a relationship that started off in the midst of quieted murmurs, and pointed fingers damnation had no fierceness, like a lady despised. While Steve's discovering that the most difficult way possible this evening, Steve's ex Mary Harvey is furious, and she's opening up to the world Steve and Marjorie's marriage is no more interesting to embarrassment, with a history established in contention. Its story has been accentuated by allegations, disavowals, and steadfast public investigation. The consistently tenacious Mary's disclosures about Marjorie, assuming the part of different ladies during her conjugal residency with Steve. Just somewhere down in the wrinkles of uncertainty, you know he's a man with the power. He's in 60 business sectors. He's composed these books. You realize he's socially associated with the projects and Disney. And every one of these sort individuals propose a potential fissure in the apparently unfaltering groundwork of Steve and Marjorie's marriage. The buzz alludes to Marjorie's reputed contact with. In all honesty, Steve's protector and the intriguingly named culinary expert, William Enormous Blast Freeman, who is Marjorie teeing with purportedly the body monitor, yet with numerous Hollywood stories. The qualification among truth and creation is a scarce difference, no matter what the ceaseless bits of hearsay. Steve and Marjorie have stayed joined in their public position, completely excusing these hypotheses. Their solidarity was piercingly caught in Steve's proclamation at Putfest 2023 in Atlanta, where he sincerely commented, "Well, before I begin, just let me say, I'm applause fine. It's an uncommon occasion of the couple, commonly hesitant about their own undertakings, venturing into the spotlight to explain their situation." Yet as these Asians keep on twirling the bay between Steve's public persona and confidential life seems to enlarge as a relationship. Master famous for his wisely guidance, these bits of hearsay effectively work on his believability. There's an unpleasant incongruity in the way that a man who gives relationship gathering to millions is currently wrestling with questions over the earnestness of his own conjugal account in the clamoring passages of superstar news. Tony Rock, a regarded figure in the parody scene, hasn't beaten around the bush in regards to Steve's perspectives on connections, particularly given the dimness encompassing Steve and Marjorie's sentiment. The center of Rock's interests originate from the clear gap between Steve's own undertakings and his position as a guide of shrewdness on dark sentiment in this manner, creating shaded areas over the credibility of his bits of knowledge. For what reason did we at any point conclude that Steve Harvey is the representative for all subjects attached to dark love question? Rock, here's a man threefold wedded whose momentum spouse was already the other lady during his second marriage. The incongruity hasn't gotten away from numerous that Steve Harvey, in the midst of his own social entanglement, is seen by some as the conclusive voice on dating in the African American population. This striking juxtaposition of Harvey's public direction versus his confidential commitment hasn't slipped past his diversion partners. Take, for example, Edelhugo Hule, one more heavyweight in the comedic field, who's consistently highlighted the apparent misalignments in Harvey's day-to-day existence. I find it inquisitive joke truly, with obvious incongruity, that a man with a background marked by various relationships is the one training people on saving amicable associations. It's similar to a feline addressing on aquatics Harvey's companions in the comedic domain appear to hold on to a stockpile of witticisms focused on him. Chris Rock Tony's kin is no exemption, quipping Steve's been writing relationship books, yet one contemplates whether he's always scrutinized. It's perplexing that the consultant may be the one needing mentor. Chris canny words highlight the glaring uniqueness between Harvey's outer picture and private capers, adding more coals to the continuous blast. Wendy Williams, the acclaimed TV anchor, voiced her perspective with brazen lucidity here. We have a man threefold wedded each an occasion to see